feel different point of view. It's here, it's now what we wanna do. Don't have all the answers, but we don't care. I thought the answer was in front of me, but it was just a dream, and all the failing made me see. I thought I had to choose another way. You can't predict your fate, it's just how it's meant to be. This is where our worlds collide. This is where we come alive. This is where we realize. This is where we realize. It's all that matters now. 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 It's all that matters now.
And welcome to UK Valorant. I am Yingsu Collins and I'm back again as your host this week on this fine Thursday evening. This is the UK University Championship presented in partnership with the UWE. Before we get into the stream, I'd like to just apologise for the delay. We usually start at 7 o'clock, but tonight we had some technical difficulties and fortunately, thanks to the brilliant production team and one of our casters who stepped in last minute, it's all been handled. We're all Gucci. We are good to go. So it's week 4 of the second University Valorant series, and we have 2 very exciting matches coming up. First up, we've got UWE Sea Stags versus the Simperial from Imperial College London. Not sure about that name myself, but I'm sure the casters will get used to that as more we go on today. And just to remind you, this is the last week of the Swiss stages, which consists of just best of ones. And from next week onwards, we're going to be going into the group stages and then playoffs, I believe, in 4 weeks after that. But we will need to double check on that one. But I'm pretty sure it's 4 weeks. And in the meantime, if you want to tune into other university scenes a bit more and you don't just want to watch on Thursday evenings, the UWE's own tournament will also be streamed on a Monday evening every week, I believe. So make sure to check that out as well. That is everything from me for now, and I'm going to be bringing in our casters tonight. I believe our casters tonight, Dor and Keglunek, are the very, very first American casters we've had on the UK Valorant stream, so it's very exciting. Hey Dor and hey Max, how you doing?
Oh no, Americans.
We're taking over.
We're taking over. It's about time. Hello, my name is Keglunek, and with me today is the wonderful and beautiful Dor Casts. Yeah, we've taken over UK Valorant, it seems, and we have some fantastic games coming for you guys right about now. I know it's been a little while. We did have that minor delay that Yinsu didn't mention, but hey, you know what? That just gave the teams extra prep time to become fantastic for the matchup we have coming up very soon. I believe, unless it's changed, I believe it's still going to be on Haven, which I'm sure we can all agree is the best map in Valorant.
I mean, I can't agree with that because it's not true. What do you think, Dor? Back me up.
I can't say it's my favorite, but it's like it's top 3, and then we just put Ascent like way down there, and we'll call it a day.
Oh no, I'm the opposite. I'm like a bit of an Ascent fangirl, but Haven is just too much of a coin toss to me. I can't deal with this map. I mean, I guess as a casters, is there anything different on Haven that makes you like the map so much?
So for Haven, a lot of what I'm looking for are quick rotations and very fluid play between these teams. As well, Cypher players are incredibly important. Being able to lock down that A site is so critical, because if you don't have a Cypher that's able to do that, then you have a Cypher that's just going to get run over time and time and time again. Because while yes, Cypher is capable of holding that site, holding both of those choke points, the enemy team aggresses and he's not able to handle it. That is a very open site and a very quick spike plant. So look for teams to really take advantage of that and test one another's Cyphers as they hold down that site.
Dora, I think you're completely right, man. When it comes down to Ace Site and Cypher, it's like peanut butter and jelly. If that can't mesh together very well, that's going to allow an easy time for the attacking team to just plow over and get that spike plan down. But on the other parts of the map, I feel as though Haven is a more strategic map compared to the others. And that's why it's really decisive when it comes to a lot of attacking play. You have to rely on those rotates so much more than any other map in the game. You can argue other maps as well have that same strategical element, but a lot of that is mixed in with the mechanical skill you need to take those gunfights. Whereas with Haven, it really comes down to that team coordination and actually getting onto the site, or if you're a defender, actually taking that site back and making sure those attackers cannot get anywhere.
I mean, Keg, I know you've been around here for a while. You were observing last week during our stream, and now you're casting. So I'm going to throw some predictions your way, and Dor, I would also throw them your way, but we will be easy on you, knowing that you literally had about 15 minutes before you jumped on the stream. But as I said, we love predictions here. We're very competitive, and not to brag, but last week I was 2 for 2. So gonna go for another 2 for 2 again this week. So as I said before, our first game is UWE versus Simperial. They're actually quite evenly matched, so we should be expecting quite a close game. But I guess Max, I'll go for you first. Who do you think is gonna come out on top for this one?
Well, so far that we have, I believe UWE is just very slightly in the lead over Simperial. So just based on that alone, I'm gonna say that that UWE is gonna take that lead. But when it comes down to Haven, honestly, I feel like this map could be anybody's game. It takes a lot of VOD reviewing, it takes a lot of scrimming, it takes a lot of practice to perfect Haven out of every other map in the game. And I really think whoever dominates the attacking side will take it over. But my initial prediction is going to be UWE.
Okay, I'll go for you now, Dor. What do you think?
All right, so we know both the teams are obviously tied 3-3. A slight edge seating wise is going to see Stags, but I mean, when both teams are running at 3-3, I'm just going to give it to the team whose name I find more interesting. It's Imperial. Has to be stepping up to the plate, and we'll see, because either Keglanek or I are going to be coming away with at least a W in that regard.
Yeah, that's true.
Imperial.
I mean, I'm with you, but I'm also like, I appreciate the pun, but the name itself, I don't know. I can't quite figure out if I'm a fan of it or not. So I think I will go for the popular pick. I think I'll go for Yui. Just I guess I have to spice it up a little bit. So we're 2 against 1s. So it's either your 2000 IQ and just coming in and sweeping it, or we're gonna look big brained for going with the favorites. Just wanted to touch on some of the agents changes we've seen. Obviously, we haven't had a patch or anything, unlike some of the Viper changes we've seen, but we have seen some sort of like change in meta. Probably due to the North American scene with the big Ignitions tournament and Pulse tournament, and now obviously in the EU we have WePlay that's currently going on right now, and we've seen some like quite interesting compositions everywhere. So I guess the question for you two is, what sort of agent composition would you like to see today, in terms of what you think is the best way on Haven, and also something that you feel like people can afford to be a bit ballsy about? I'll come to you first, Dor, for this one.
Yeah, I think the standard solid picks that we've been seeing, the Cypher, the Brim, the Sage, and the Sova especially, has kind of been solidified as of recent. But that 5th slot gets played around with more and more. It used to be the Raze everybody's been leaning towards, but now the Jet's kind of been coming into popularity as a very, very strong operator pick. People on Ascent especially have been trying to flex away from the Brimstone, away from the Sage, trying to break out a little bit more utility on those more chaotic maps. But when it comes to Haven, like you said, it's so rotation focused, it's so in-game leading focused and tactically focused that I think you really need to be running this meta composition. I think the interesting bit comes to whether or not we see the Jet, the Raze, or maybe even something like a Phoenix that also rose to fruition during these tournaments.
What do you think, Max?
I'm going to put a little wrench in that plan of yours, Dora. I completely agree with you. I want to start off by saying that I completely agree, especially with the Jet pick possibly coming out. But Viper has been showing so much new prominence ever since this new patch has come out that if we see a huge defensive Haven this upcoming match, Viper's going to be the one to lead that charge. But otherwise, if we don't see Viper, it's going to be a really attacking sided Haven on both sides, and we're going to see Jet dominate on both teams.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, just one last question, real quick about the Viper. I think it's quite interesting. Why do you guys think that we're not seeing a Viper as often as we should be in sort of this tier of Valorant?
I mean, it's mostly to do with players struggling with resource management, right? Her resources are extremely powerful, but extremely limited at the same time. And so making sure you are where you need to be, she kind of has the same ability as Cypher to control map space without needing to be there, right? Because you
Mhm.
can proc them from anywhere. And so I think when it comes to Viper, when it comes to players playing Viper especially, it's a whole different playstyle to a lot of the other things they may have gone with before.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, guys, for your insight. It's time for me to leave it to you guys to take it to the match, and I'll see you guys after the break.
Catch you in a bit.
All right, now the real juicy stuff begins.
Now it's an NA stream. It's over.
It's about time. All right, so it looks like we will be getting into map 1 relatively soon. What it's really going to come down to, ladies and gentlemen, is that battle between Viper and Jet. We have two separate, pretty much entirely different dichotomies of what we want for these attacking teams on the board, and it's really going to come down to this team composition. I think we both agree here that it's really not going to be that different of an agent selection phase for both teams. You have your Cypher, your Brimstone, your Sage, your Phoenix, and your Sova, and then it's going to be that fifth one. And literally, that fifth one is going to determine how the game's going to go entirely.
Yeah, I mean, it can change the pace of the game, like you said, entirely changing how they want to play, but not just that, how your opponent wants to play. Because if one of these teams doesn't say lock a Viper or a Jet, and they're kind of stuck in a week or two ago when everyone was still running the Raze, that can lead to some really, really serious dissonance in how the match is played. And we'll see two completely different attacking sides, even if just by chance.
Yeah, I read an interesting statistic a few days ago that Raze has one of the lowest win rates, I believe, out of all the agents in the the big competitive echelon, which to me was a little surprising because you see Raze just about every single time. Hopefully I read those statistics wrong because I had a hard time believing it myself, but I mean, when it comes down to it, a lot of teams like to rely on their mechanical skill, sometimes a little too much. But when you have a team that relies on their IGLing, like you said, Dor, and they rely on their map, and awareness, that's where that mechanical skill can fall down just a little bit.
Yeah, that's where we expect. Well, if there's anywhere we expect it to fall off, actually, it's going to be Haven. These longer sight lines, these more intense pushes on the site, as well as post plant scenarios, are incredibly difficult, right? Here more than anywhere, we see the retakes come through. C and B especially are very, very hard for the attackers to actually lock down because all of those entrances, all the different ways in, how big the sites are, even when it comes to something like a C site, can make it incredibly hard in that regard. So in-game leading is going to be #1 priority. Get in with as little utility needed as possible and get your post plant out with as much utility as possible.
Oh, and it looks like, Dor, you were right. We do see the Jet on West England's side, and it looks like the Imperials are going for the Reyna and Raze kind of really frag heavy option. So it looks like we won't be seeing Viper today, but who knows, maybe in the second set we can see Viper come on through. But right away, it looks like both teams really have an interesting composition. Overall, I want to say that Imperial is going for a much more frag heavy and much more dominating performance. Whereas we see a little bit more of a balance of intel and even actually a lot less fragging opportunity. It's more or less just a support intel side matchup that they have.
Yeah, and honestly, I have to give UWE a pretty large advantage right now heading into this matchup. ICL are going to find some pretty decent success on the attack moving in, but when it comes to the defense side of things, I think they're really going to struggle.
Yeah, and struggle is going to be the name of the game right now. We do see an initial struggle right on a long but voiceless finding Tex already, and you lose out on your breach. That's not a great position to start off your defense on. And with that being said, we see a lot of Imperial just clouding over onto the A site. The defense is having such a hard time keeping up, and suddenly Matt with a double kill. Trigger follows up, but Shady tries to put an end to it while they can. With that being said, though, it's a 2v2. Never mind, not so much a 2v2 anymore. NDS does find Trigger. That's your Cypher off the board, but the Sage goes down as well. And that is going to be Imperial by a very, very small margin, winning out round number 1.
I mean, Mate came up massive with that set of 2. That slowed down the momentum of the attacking team significantly. All of a sudden, they had to use more utility to get that spike down. Things really became a struggle. Now I'm really curious, though, what do we see ICL actually go for in this round? They're going to go for the full buy, so try and buy as much as you can. Try and guarantee this round. UWE, what they're looking for here is just a couple of picks. 2 to 3 is going to be what you're really wanting with those shotguns, but it's actually just such a struggle on Haven with such long angles to be playing to actually find those frags.
Cage triggered.
Yeah, I mean, if you're ICL right now, the name of the game is just to rush onto a site and just overpower and take advantage of those long rotations that UE has to deal with. And right now we're seeing a huge aggression onto C site. It is a bit of a split push. They're probing a little bit to find out what the best way of countering on C is, and that's gonna be Trigger going down right away. And with a little bit of resistance on Garage as well, that's going to be a quick rotation into the spike plant. Matt does find Voiceless Cruelty, but unfortunately that might not be enough because, oh no, never mind. The site is taken over by Imperial, but is it enough? The rotates are getting a little too cut off for UE right now, and they're having a really hard time aggressing. That spike plant is down and the time is clicking. Matt does find NDS, and that's going to be 2 of your fraggers off the board. Shady Notes goes down next, and that's suddenly a really bad position for Shinka. The walls are up, and you have to either teleport and put yourself in a super positionally bad advantage like that, and that's going to be the defenders taking the second round. But again, when you're in a position like that, there's nothing you can really do.
I mean, I'll tell you what, there's one thing super about that, and it's that it was super bad. The attackers there should have had far more precedence over that C site. The pick off as the smoke was coming down is almost inexcusable. It's showing a lot of the weak points of Simperial's composition, right? You don't have that post-plant priority. You don't have the smokes to kind of defend it. You don't have any sort of tripwire to help with it either. And I think this is going to be something we see time and time again. We mentioned how important all that utility is on Haven, and they're running basically none of it.
Yeah, I'm really glad you mentioned that, Door, because there is almost no real flank watch utility on ICL's team. It's literally get in there and take it over as quick as possible and just take names. There's no real map wise setup minus the Sage, and otherwise it's all just kind of not necessarily selfish utility on ICL's board, but just using themselves and their bodies to their advantage for that mechanical skill to take over the map. Whereas you have Jet with the vertical plays, you have the Breach, you have the Brimstone, you have the Cypher, you have the Sage, all on Nui, but Fate finds RL with that operator, and that is going to be a huge first pick, taking down one of your top fraggers already. A-Site's not looking great right now for ICL, and they realize this and have to go for the quick rotate. A-Site no longer working out, and that's going to be the Omen rotating all the way around. Shinka trying to go for what seems to be a C push now, and of course, UE, no dummies on their end, realize what's happening and are prepping up for the C defense. Trigger does find Shinka as well, and there's only 30 seconds left on the clock. Door, it's not a great position for the attackers to be in. That spike is down, and it's seeming like all of ICL is completely fragmented apart. There's no ways of rotating, and there's no safe way getting that spike. It's all lost. What,
did you see that Molotov? It just bounced off the door at a weird angle. This round's pretty much in the books for UWE. They have the spike down. They could find one frag here in mid. NDS going to get a little something for his efforts, but the scoreline still meant to be 2-1. And again, that lack of utility is just going to continue to make life a living hell. They're putting so much weight on individual fragging potential, and honestly, on a map like Haven with so much space, I'm starting to doubt the ability for that to actually show up. However, with this being a gun round, this should be ICL's route back in. If they can take this round away, then I can start looking at them to claw their way back through. But if they lose this, that is UWE. That is their economy completely bolstered. They are set up for the next few rounds, and they're feeling real good about themselves. They just got to lock up one more.
Yeah, ICL's economy right now is not in a great place whatsoever. They have to maybe go for the save if they can, but it looks like they might be force buying a little bit right now and overextending their economy. And honestly, if I were them, that's probably not the best position to be in. Voiceless trying to get that opening pick onto the Breach, but not going to connect, and it's looking like it's going to be another A push. Now, again, if you are in ICL's position right now, you have a lot of options to connect to that first site, but you're missing all of your shots. Voiceless missing 2 shots on 2 different bodies, and suddenly it's a huge standstill. you're trying to aggress onto either A, B, or C, but you're not making any headway whatsoever. You're going to make your way slowly through garage, but Matt is waiting for that push. But the boombox comes through and completely misses initially. That's going to give away that RL is aggressing up, and that's going to be Matt finding RL. But by then, it's already looking like it might be a B or a C push. Whatever it's going to work out first. Only one body off the board on the map so far, and there's less than a minute left. C site is getting completely crowded over with UWE bodies, and it's looking like it might be a little too much for ICL. They need to rotate around right now and figure out what they need to do to either keep themselves alive, to keep that economy, or maybe in a last-ditch effort, finally get that spike down on A site again. The Cypher isn't watching over A like you normally see. He's watching over C, and that is a great opportunity for ICL to take advantage of. Hunter's Fury coming out from the Sova, not going to connect whatsoever, but NDS does find Tex, and that's going to be Fate clapping back against on Voiceless Cruelty. But is it going to be enough? That remains to be seen. The spike plant goes down. Only two bodies left alive on ICL, and they need to hold on to this as much as they can. One body goes down. Almost the follow-up of Frost with a double kill. Going to secure that defuse, and that's going to be another round in UWE's favor.
And another round on the board where ICL struggle and struggle and struggle with the post plant. You can get that spike down all you want. You can get that extra cash all you want, but it's not going to put a round on the board. They must frag out. They used their Omen smokes extremely early in that round. They used one of their slow orbs extremely early in that round. They lost somebody in garage early in that round. And then you're almost guaranteed to lose later in the round, not just because you're missing players, but because your composition doesn't allow you to actually hold on to any of the value, any of the map control that you're actually getting. Now their economy completely in shambles. They're on basically just Sheriff light armor for a couple of them. UWE are feeling fantastic about their chances. This is going to be another 2-3 rounds on the board for them, almost guaranteed just off the economy.
It's not a great position for ICL to be in whatsoever, and they're still playing the aggressive game. They want to go forward, but Matt and Fate with a double op kill, destroying the aggression immediately on that seaside push. Garage being taken over by the attackers right now, but Trigger's unafraid. He's going to use those smokes to his advantage. He knows exactly where that raise is and is trying to find that shot, but no, the grenades are going to take Trigger down. Now you lose your Cypher, but honestly, with his tripwires already down, it's not the worst body to lose first. You still have your Breach and your Brim online, so honestly, they're still kind of chilling a little bit. You lose down on your intel on the Sova pick and your Reyna on ICL, but Matt is on a rampage right now, finding RL as well, and that's going to be Frost finding Voiceless through their own walls as well. There is nothing but cruelty coming out from UWE's side, and they do not want to give them an ounce of leeway on Imperial's side. They don't want them to have any kind of chance whatsoever going into this Haven matchup. And right now, it's not looking great either. Matt does miss that shot, but it looks like Shinka's not too much better with that Phantom in a long range. 30 seconds left. You have the spike, but you are already completely surrounded. The Jet wants to play the aggressive game, and with that up, I mean, you might as well. It's looking all but over.
Yeah, and I mean, all but over is effectively how Simperial are feeling right about now. They're forced back into their spawn. They're going to be in their spawn for the next round. Maybe they make it to a site, but that post-plant scenario is going to continue to haunt them. However, the one thing they do have going for them is that this next round will be a gun round. Shinka did manage to save, maybe? Never mind. I cursed it. I'm so sorry, Neck, but they don't get to move into the next round with that weapon. And that's going to mean the struggle continues and continues and continues. They haven't even managed to take a gun out of the hands of UWE in what feels like 2 rounds here. I want to see a solid push. I'm honestly kind of sick and tired of the spread out map play. They need to get in, get those frags, and trade out mid-fight effectively. Look for those 2v1s. Look for those 3v1s. Peek wide on people with multiple players, because taking those 1v1s across the map is just not working for you.
Yeah, taking those 1v1s, like you said, Dor, is not working whatsoever. We see a lot of op versus op shots, or even, you know, op favored on the defense, whereas we see a lot of the attackers running and gunning with their assault rifles, or even worse, their pistols, trying to make something work. And right away, Shinka, what are you doing with that ult? That's going to lead to an instant death. Voiceless does clap back, though, getting the refrag onto Tech. But even then, Shinka just willingly put their life at risk for no reason. The spike plant does go down. I guess maybe it gave UWE a bit of a scare. Voiceless does go for the revive as well, and that's going to be a great positional advantage for Imperial side. But right now, it's a 4v4, and the spike plant is down. It seems like there's a lot of hesitation on the defensive side, but once they get started with a double kill. NDS clapping back, but Trigger with a triple kill, finding their way home, and that's going to be NDS following up onto Fate. NDS with a triple kill of their own, and it's suddenly a 1v1. Best fragger versus your best support, and it's going to be the support that claps out instead. That is Frost bringing it back again. Another defuse under their name. 5 rounds to the 1 in Imperial's name. It is just running away with the ball, and the snowball is in full force.
I mean, I think that round only goes to show how difficult this actually is for ICL Poach Plant, right? NTS got 3. He got 3, and you still couldn't lock it out. It's going to be that time and time again. You need multiple players to frag out. Yes, I like that they stacked the site. Yes, I like that they got the spike down quick. Yes, I like that they did manage to frag out. But again, doing that on a consistent basis is just so difficult. You saw there only one player is able to pull it off. You need at least 2. You need Shady Nose to come in, or RL to really show up with the utility to find at least a little bit more value than they are right now. Heading into this next round, they're back on a very bad buy. Meanwhile, I'm pretty sure all the players of UE are pretty much max cash.
Yeah, maximum cash is going to be a huge differentiating favor for UWE, because even if they die, it's okay. You can still get those guns again for the next round. But RL, honestly, is not really showing up as much as they should this game. And Tex taking down NDS right off the bat is your most consistent fragger on the attacking team. Going down almost immediately is not a great look at all. Tex did take down a lot of health as well, but his body is still on the board. He can still perform this round. There's no revives at all from Simp's side. So, and they have full ults on UWE side as well. It's not a great position to be in. And if I was Imperial, I would save this round, because your economy is, again, in shambles. There's 43 seconds left, and it seems like there's a huge staggered push going on Imperial side as well. RL going down again, and that's going to be your only B push completely gone. Now, we do see Shinka going for an A push right now, and it's really interesting to see what he's trying to do. I don't think Shinka's aware that there are 2 bodies on A watching, but it doesn't matter because Fate does find out on Shinka. That's going to leave your last 2 bodies outside of B, and that's going to be Frost taking out Shady, but Voiceless claps back onto Frost, and that's going to be your best support going down as well. But with 12 seconds left, good luck getting the plant down in a 1v4 situation. You have your walls, but you have 24 health, and Trigger's going to find you anyways.
Yeah, that's just about as pretty as every other round went. ICL as well, though. They forced into that pretty hard. Now this round, they're sitting on pretty much nothing. They might be able to get a couple of weapons under their belt. Or are they going to go for the force on every round? I'm actually very curious, because there seems to have been a change in mentality as far as this Imperial side goes. And whether or not they put any weapons on anybody else here is actually going to tell us a lot. Or are they just going for the Hero Spectre, which would be a really interesting play. No, okay. Here's the proper save, the one that we wanted last round. Now they aren't going to have much of a shot if this Cypher can shut them down.
I mean, that shutdown on the Cypher is going to be what it takes, because they're going full on in on C site. And that's all you can really do when you're saving as much economy as possible. You're 6-1 right now, and that's fine. I mean, you can hold on to as much as you can, but it's a back and forth between the teams right now. But Trigger lands out with a double kill before being taken down by the NDS. Now it's a 3v2, and so the man advantage goes to the defenders once again. That spike plant does go down, but it's not going to be for much longer, because NDS again finds Frost. Though, with that very consistent operator, going to be finding NDS, and that again is your most consistent fragger dead and unable to clutch another round. Shinka's the last one alive, and honestly, their performance in these situations has been very kind of inconsistent. They get some of the work done, but so far it's a bad position to be in. He finds Tex, and he gets the double kill on the Fate Caster's Curse. That's going to be another round on Imperial College of London's side. Never mind, I guess we're both cursed, Door, because they brought it back when we've been kind of harking on them a little too long.
I mean, the nice thing about relying on frag potential is a lot of the time it doesn't matter what you have in your hands. Sometimes your players are just going to pop off. And you know what? They got it when they needed it. Managed to take over the C site, managed to lock it down post-plant, something we haven't seen them do pretty much the entire game so far. Hopefully they can continue that momentum, because this should bolster their economy enough to buy them at least for 1 or maybe 2 more rounds following this. That's what we really need to see, though. It needs to be consistent. It can't just be one player getting 2-3 kills on the site one round. It needs to be that time and time again. Oh, that's not how you want to start out.
Yeah, Matt finding NDS again, and that's going to be a huge snowball effect for how the rest of the round's going to go. NDS so far, I believe, having a really high kill count, all things considered, but again, not able to clutch out a round like they should be, and that's going to be a huge detriment to their team. But Fade through the smoke, taking down Voiceless Cruelty. Shinka claps back with the operator now, and RL finding their footing, taking a double kill onto Fate and Trigger. A minute left on the board, and suddenly it's even between the two teams. Now that spike is nowhere to be seen. It's gonna be Shinka going all the way to Seaside on that ult, getting that plant down. RL making their way over, running and gunning past these bodies, finding one, finding two, and a 4K from RL is gonna secure their third round so far on the board. What was once 5-1, now suddenly 6-3. The score differential's not as bad as it looked before.
No, and also UWE's economy is looking worse than it ever has before. One more round, and these guys are done for. They are in the saving books. ICL, though, they're starting to show a little bit of life in themselves. That 4K is exactly the kind of stuff that they need. It doesn't have to be a 4K per round. It could be 2 on one player, 2 on another. You just need that 1 to 2 player advantage before you actually start getting into things, before you can actually push anything. Because if you're playing post-plant in a 4v4 situation against a team that has all that utility, it becomes a lot harder. So winning these games earlier in the round is exactly what they want to be doing heading in here. And NDS poking and prodding at mid is one way of doing that.
Yeah, poking and prodding mid has not had very good results for Imperial so far. They've managed to get onto the B site at least once in an attempt to plant, but by the time they got there, it was a 1v4 situation. And at that point, you're screwed. You can't do anything. But right now, it looks like both teams are taking it a little bit slower. The intel's coming out with the Sova's Owl, and not really going to find a whole lot other than the Sage on their right. Now, the garage is going to be hotly contested, but the Molly goes down from Matt right away, and that's going to force the attacking team to go for the rotate. Now, the rotate, if they're smart, would be onto C site. There is a camera and a tripwire, but they seem to be much more comfortable going for A site. Most of the rounds that Imperial has won have been on the A site, and there's no way that UWE's not familiar with that. That's why they have Fate finding NDS on the board, and there's going to be a few more bodies waiting to double up as well. And that's going to be another one, Fate taking down Voiceless, and that's going to be Voiceless going down. It is a slaughter back and forth between the two teams, but unfortunately the slaughter is going to leave Imperial in a bad position. You have your Sova and you have Shinka last left alive, and Shady Notes needs to step up the game a little bit. He's all by himself, and unfortunately that's not going to last much longer because he gets taken down. Shinka's going to be the last one alive yet again, and really that's not a great position for an Omen to be in. He doesn't have his teleport anymore, so he won't be able to rotate out too effectively. And with that, he's just going to save the op as usual, and that's going to be another round on the board. For the first time in, I believe, 2 rounds, that UWE finally gets a score on the board.
And that round was a pretty good showing from ICL. I actually love the rotation over towards the A side. I think they played it relatively well. The one thing, though, that I think they messed up on was how fast they did it. When you don't have utility, that means you have to beat the utility. That means you have to get there before the utility. They spent a little bit too long sitting outside of A and not enough time killing things. Got stopped immediately after the op shot from Fate came through. And that's when it was curtains. That's when the Brimstone gets there. That's when the Cypher gets there. That's when the Breach gets there. That's when you start getting slowed down. And that's when you're really going to struggle with these fragging compositions. ICL, I like what they're doing. I like the rotations just a little bit faster this time.
You're right. You can still see the gears turning in their heads a little bit as they're rotating around. Fate does find NDS again, who has not been having a very good few rounds, but Matt showing up with a double kill onto that Sage and the Raze as well. And that's going to be a huge, because again, you're down to Shady Notes and you're down to Shinka. Shady Notes hasn't really had too much of a performance this game one way or another. Him and Shinka have been playing the dedicated supporting roles, and it hasn't really been working out in these late game clutches. There's a minute left, and not a single body on UWE's side has been taken down. They're trying to look for those almost post-round picks, but they're not going to find any right away. Everyone on UWE still thinks that they might have some opposition, but it looks like Shinka does find Trigger, and that's going to allow a huge dynamic shift onto C site. But again, it looks like they're going to be going for the save again. There's really nothing they can do other than maybe making a mad dash onto A site at the very last second. But it looks like instead they're opting for maybe either a B push or just taking as many bodies as they can before either going down or letting that round end.
Yeah, with 2 members left, it does not look likely. They just want to hold on to what they have. This operator can be extremely valuable. We talked earlier about how we want to see them get early round picks and find advantages earlier on. This is a one-stop, one-click shop to try and do exactly that. I suspect we'll see this either go C long or straight into mid, trying to get some sort of early round value, because challenging Fate today has not been super successful for them. And now with UE on an even better economy than they were before, ICL, they need this more than ever. In fact, I don't think we've actually seen them take away a gun round proper. We've only seen them take away pistols and eco rounds that they weren't even supposed to be winning. So if anything, this operator might just be a sign of doom for them.
Yeah, I don't really like how the op is kind of pretty much transforming Shinka's playstyle. I understand that maybe most of the picks he's getting are on the op. He's 6 and 7 as we speak, but again, at what cost? You're losing out on the aggression that your entire team's built over, and for what cost? Fate takes you down immediately. RL using the showstopper, taking down Matt, and that's going to be a huge pick for the Brimstone to go down. But again, you know, trading a Brimstone for that Omen is an okay situation for Imperial to be in. The C site is going to be aggressed on a lot more. Voiceless finds Trigger, and that is going to be big. That's going to be huge for Imperial's side, because Frost goes down as well, and that's going to be the spike going down. Suddenly, you have Tex and Fate trying to figure out what to do. They're in the same position Shady and Shinka find themselves in all the time, but they try to go for it at the very least. RL gets the triple kill on the Fate, and Tex finds RL. But you're the last one alive in a 1v3. Again, you might have to go for that either clutch push that's going to be very difficult and down to the milliseconds, or you just need to save the round. From the looks of it, it looks like Tex will try to do what he can, but unfortunately, he only pops a few shots off before being taken down.
I mean, it plays out like a storybook. They get the first couple of picks, they get the end of the round. They took out the Cypher, they took out the Brimstone extremely early. That is a large chunk of the utility gone from UE. All of a sudden, that retake becomes a lot harder, right? The Sage Wall isn't as good at cutting off the angles as the smokes are. You don't have the tripwires all of a sudden. You don't have any of that stopping power. We need to see a little bit more from that Cypher if we see them do well. Now on the attacking side, though, this is where things get a little bit interesting, because like I said, there's no defensive utility for ICL to really rely on, but at the same time, there's not that much attacking utility for UE. So I think it's going to come up to which of these teams can get more creative with what little they have.
Yeah, it's a peculiar, thank you, situation to be in right now, because a lot of what West England was bringing out was really good for the defense, and suddenly now a lot of the things, utilities you have, like on Cypher, are not so great on the attack. But Fate doesn't care. Fate ignores all of that and takes down Shinka immediately, and this could actually be a really good defensive composition for Imperial, and that might be what they need to bring back this game. And now, if that's what they're trying to go for, they're in a great position right now to bring it all back on the defensive side. But right now, it looks like most of West England just swarming over the seaside, but RL and NDS don't care. They're taking bodies left and right and holding onto these sites like it's nobody's business. Matt does find a little bit of luck onto NDS, but unfortunately, oh no, never mind. He gets another head on the Shady Notes. Voiceless clapping back on the Matt, but Frost takes down RL to go with it. Now suddenly, Frost is in a bad position. It's Sage versus Sage combat. Who will come out the victor? It doesn't matter, because it seems like they're both leaving C site. They're both going to make those fast rotations over, but it looks like no. It took the other Sage a second to realize what was going on, and instead of going immediately to the A site, they're going to stop at B to see if that's where the plant's going to go down. There's 28 seconds left. There's no signs of anyone at B site. You realize now, oh no, the spike's at A. I got to make myself go all the way over there in the pistol round. Luckily for both teams, they're both at the same exact weapon advantage. They both have a great chance of bringing this back, but we do have the split cam right now, and it'll be great to see which Sage will have the superior play here. The wall goes up, but keep in mind the other, oh no, it looks like the other Sage doesn't have her wall. So that's gonna be the wall breaking down, and they're gonna go for it. They're duking it out, and there we go. There can only be one, and it's gonna be Voiceless Cruelty. Again, the ultimate Sage of the two, the superior one, showing their dominance, bringing it back in the first half. I'm sorry, in the second half, 8-5. It's not every day you see Sage versus Sage at the end like that.
No, that's what we call supportal combat here in the US. And you know what? They do it just fine. A-side gets taken over. A-side gets taken right on down. Now we need to see Simperial try and capitalize on this. Come in guns a-blazing and see what kind of dents you can make in the opponent's economy, because this is really your only chance before that utility starts to get back in the game.
You have to do whatever you can at this point. That was a fantastic second half so far, first round for Imperial College, but they have to keep it going. Now, you got to keep in mind, UWE are not dumb. They're going to be able to adapt around what's going on. Of course, Imperial's not dumb either, and it's just a game of adapting around. What happened before was that Fate took down Shinka last round in the beginning, but this time Shinka was prepared and took down Fate instead. You lose down on a lot of vertical play with that attacking and what usually can be in a scary jet. Not going to be showing up this round, and so far not really showing up in the second half. But with that being said, again, UWE in a bad position. They were having the man disadvantage, but taking down RL is going to put them at an even course. Now, looks like the gears are still turning in their head. They're not sure where they want this spike to go. It seems like so far A might be the option, and we're going to see a full group rotate, and it looks like it's still going to be a staggered rotating option for Imperial side. Each person still holding a very pivotal point of each map, and now would be the time for them to rotate around and be ready for that last minute aggression. Voiceless Cruelty doesn't care, however. They are waiting and prepped fully for this huge rotate. There's going to be a lot of activity in sewers right now, and that's going to be the call out from Voiceless to absolutely change the dynamic of the game and how it's going to go. They realize what's happening, the wall goes up, and that's going to be wham, bam, explosions everywhere, and it's going to be a site almost taken over. Cruelty does find Trigger, but Tex claps back and takes a double kill to go with it. That spike plant goes down. It's a 2v3. Frost is waiting to do whatever he can to slow down on top of Heaven, and it's going to be Matt looking for that next kill onto the Reyna. Shinka, though, clapping back, finding Frost, and NDS find Matt as well. And it's going to be down to Tex to protect this spike as long as he humanly can. Now he's completely surrounded, but never mind, not so surrounded now because he finds NDS, and it's a 1v1. Shinka on the first half, not able to really clutch out rounds like this. Now holding on to it as long as they can. They still need to go after that spike, and it looks like they finally realize their priorities. The smoke goes down, but that's not going to stop Tex. Tex tries to go for it, but no, Tex can't bring it back. Now, unfortunately, I don't have any in-game sound, so I'm not sure where that spike is at, but it looks like it's a clutch, and that's going to be Shinka finally redeeming themselves, bringing it back 6-8 against the team that they were losing to for so long. They're slowly but surely climbing back up.
Yeah, for a team with so much utility, they didn't have any for the post plant. All they had was the wall. They used all three of their smokes to try and get the execute in. And honestly, I think you want to be reserving a little bit of that gas in your tank, because you saw in the post plant, they were able to come through and just clean up. Shinka had holes to shoot through. NDS wiggled their way in and onto the site. And that's exactly what you don't want when you're the team with the utility advantage, right? You want to make that last for the entire round, not just use it to take the site. Otherwise, you put yourself in a losing scenario. ICL, though, now they have to play into full weapons UWE. This is their first real shot in this half.
It's going to be a very scary round here, Dor, because everyone has weapons now. The utilities are kind of mismatched between the two teams of what can be effective on their attacking or defending side. And really the gunfights in the second half are going to be even more important. Shinka finds that first kill on the map, and it looks like that Molly came back with a vengeance by taking Shinka down as well. It's kind of null and void for both teams, not really losing too much. You do lose out on that Brimstone and his Hellfire as well. But, you know, you could say the same thing about Omen's teleport on the defending team. There's less than a minute left on the clock, and this is a situation we've seen time and again in this second half. UWE trying to figure out what they want to do to rotate around. Last time they went for A, and it worked really well in their favor. But this time, it's looking a little bit slower, and it's looking a little bit more hesitant. They want to go for A side as much as they can, but if they make a wrong turn, they could easily get slaughtered by Shady Notes resting at the top of Heaven. Now, I'm not sure what Shady has in his arsenal, but it looks like he has an operator. That's going to be really deadly. Op shot number 1 misses, op shot number 2 misses, and that's going to be prime opportunity for that flank to go down. But it's also going to give a little bit more time for the defenders to rotate around as well. Voiceless is looking for those heads, but unfortunately not able to find it. Going to be disoriented from the breach, and that's going to be Tex running away with that spike plant already going down. Now, Fate does find RL, and that's going to be a slaughterhouse on A side. Trigger with the double kill, and Fate bringing it back home against Shady Notes, and it's 9-6 now. Again, a 3-point differential isn't the first time we've seen this happen before, but with the numbers going up and up, it's getting scarier and scarier for both teams.
Now that's what we want to see from UW. That's the kind of post-plant prowess that we want, that kind of illiterate warranting play that we really, really need from them. And if they want to lock this game up, they're going to need more of those. Now, though, it seems like they've kind of got the formula down. Their economy is in a pretty good place. Follow this up with one more solid round to beat out the Eco, and I am starting to feel like UWE are on their way to a big, big win here to start the day off.
Yeah, UWE has been on track so far to winning this game, and they've been playing really excellently. But of course, right away, we see a huge amount of aggression from NDS, taking down the Cypher, but Voiceless claps back, and Frost claps back, and that's going to be a little bit extra salt in the wound, taking Trigger back from the grave, being back alive. You lost down on your top frag in a really good, valiant effort in the beginning, but unfortunately, that revive coming in clutch is going to be a huge monkey wrench in whatever plans the defenders had. Now, with UWE, we have seen this every single time where they kind of probe and prod to see where is the best option for them to attack. Now, this has worked a lot of times for A side so far, but it's almost becoming a little predictable. We already see Voiceless Cruelty having that the walls go up at sewers, so they probably can't go A short like they did the very first time. They went A long last round, but this time around, I think they picked up on the plan and they want to go on B site. Fate taking down Shinka again, looking like this might be the best option for the attackers to aggress. RL finding a little bit of action, but unfortunately it's going to be Frost right there in time. It's a back and forth between the two teams. Trigger coming down on top, taking down Cruelty again, but Trigger with a double kill and Matt securing the round again. We've officially reached double digits between the two teams. That's going to be 10 points right now for the University of West England, so far having a 4-point dominance over the Imperial College of London in game number 1.
Yeah, and this lead is better than you think it is, right? Simperial, their economy isn't great either. UWE, they're bolstered, they're ready. They have enough money to buy out 3-4 more rounds after this, given their economy. And now it's all just about executing within that time. It shouldn't be too hard for them. You can go 50-50 on these rounds and feel perfectly good about yourselves. But again, it's execution. Something they seem to have figured out after that second round, but something they need to continue to be consistent on here.
Yeah, the execution again, like we saw on the attacking side for Imperial, is just a lot of hesitation almost. And it just seems like they lack the will, not the will, but the mechanical skills sometimes to almost take these gunfights and refrags, which makes a lot of sense. You know, both teams have really good gun skill and are able to really take back bodies. And we have seen some refrags, but not enough to really warrant the change of a round. NDS going not so aggressive as we have seen the previous round, taking down Fate. And that's going to be a huge opening pick, because you lose your Jet, and Jet doesn't have her ult anymore either. NDS is playing a lot more regressed and playing less aggressive than we saw last round. Like I said, getting that double kill on the mat as well, and this might be the key to victory. Shinka finding Frost as well. That's gonna be 3 bodies on the board before losing your first on Imperial. Trigger does find NDS, but taking 2 bodies on the board already is a great way to start. But again, just going all the way to the wall and just trying to get these kills without really thinking too much about your situational awareness is where a lot of Imperial College has been falling out so far. With them dialing it back and able to take these gunfights on their own terms is where we see fantastic double kills with NDS's opening pick so far. Tech finding Shady Notes as well. 14 seconds left on the clock. You got to get that spike plan down right now. There we go, right now. Voiceless Cruelty taking Tex. That's going to be a double kill onto Trigger, and that's going to be enough to bring it back to a 7-10. It's not quite the scoreline they were hoping to get, but I mean, it's progress so far. And like we said, it's still a lot better than it was at the beginning of the game.
I mean, progress is the best way to do it, and that's exactly what they need, right? They've come in, they've choked out a lot of the utility from UWE, and that's something they need to continue to do. We talked about why they lost that initial round is because they used all of their utility earlier and didn't have anything for the post-plant. Yes, ICL started out that round by getting a couple of frags, but if you can take away that utility, if you can take away that advantage early on, you don't even need those frags. You can come in that post-plant and very easily try and retake a site. Make these rounds last, make UWE use their utility. That is the ticket here for ICL.
Yeah, UE needs to expel all of their utility in order to not have that advantage anymore. And that's the line of thinking Imperial College needs to have going forwards here. It's been 17 rounds so far. We're on round number 18. It seems like they've picked up on this knowledge a little bit, and they've been doing a great job. It's just a matter of really taking on these gunfights now as well, and the rotates as well, don't forget. Fate trying to get the vertical play on top of that wall inside of in sewers. Not going to work out too well. Shady Notes finds Trigger as well, and it's going to be another aggressive A push again. Now, we do see NDS rotating around through the back of A, going through Link, and that could be a really important pick. But no, I think they realize that they're all going to be backing off from the A side, it seems. Probably going to go towards B or maybe C of whatever they feel is going to be the safer option. So it's going to be spread out across the board again. And usually when it comes to this for Imperial, I get a little nervous because, again, they don't have that refrag potential that UE loves to play on or play off on. Now, with that being said, it is... Never mind. Shinka getting that first kill on the Tex, and that's a great second kill into the round, but Matt does find NDS as well. NDS unfortunately not really doing too much this round. Is going to be a huge detriment as well, especially in a post-plant situation. Voiceless Cruelty getting the double kill, however, and that's going to be Voiceless, the last one Frost, the last one alive, trying to figure out what to do next. That diffuse is going down, and it seems like nothing's going to stop it, and that's going to be 10 to 8 so far for Imperial, and that's, again, really close. This is the closest score differential we've seen so far, Dor.
Yeah, this is it's exactly what we want to see from Simperial, though. They made that round go late. They forced them to a side of the map they didn't want to play. That B site is just going to take all of the utility away from a team. Actually setting up for a post plant there requires so much, and then it's such an open site, so many different entrances to it. It's almost going to be impossible to hold down. You force UE into that situation 2, maybe 3 more times, you're looking at not only the economy, but even a chance at the game.
Yeah, we were seeing a lot of like hesitation, almost panic at the very end of the round from both teams, especially in that, like, you know, getting that spike plan down is just like, oh my god, I need to get this down right now. The score line is, the timer's going down, we need to do this. And there's a lot of kind of just hesitation between the teams coordinating at the very end there. In the beginning like this, Shinka getting that first kill on the Tex, it's going fantastically so far. But again, we're seeing a huge standstill for UE trying to figure out what they want to do next. Now, Matt is in an interesting position right now because that Molly could be able to take out RL or at least move their positioning, but it's a matter of not only just realizing that someone is there, but also just pushing forwards. It's a standstill right now. It's a Cold War situation. One person needs to act now where they can be there all game. Both teams just waiting for someone to do something next. NDS getting a little antsy and going to be completely pushing up, and that's going to be Fate finding them. Not a great thing to have, but, you know, it does happen, and that's going to be one body across the board being taken down. But, of course, as I say that, Fate finds Shady Notes as well, and that's going to be the refrag potential not going to be there again. A lot of just kind of turtling in between the two sites on B, and it's going to be holding out whatever they can. Now, we do see Trigger with that spike aggressing onto the B site, and that might be the best option so far, but Voiceless does get that revive as well. That's going to be a 4v4 situation, and they realize, okay, we need to rotate to A. B is not going to work out. Everyone's swarming it. Of course, they're not doing it quietly at all because there's 5 seconds left, and there's no time to
No
plant.
spike.
No time to plant, but that was a valiant attempt, just a little too late on the execution. Fate getting that final kill on the Voiceless Cruelty, and that might have the most bodies we've seen so far in the round-ending position. But here's the most important thing, Dor. 10 to 9.
I mean, it's definitely getting closer, but I feel like it's getting further as far as UE go. They are getting worse and worse at playing the way they need to. They have this utility. I want to point out, they used 2 jet smokes as well as a cyber cage, just dancing around in middle. Just for sitting there, it cost them. They're paying rent to set up their tent in B, and there's absolutely no reason for them to be doing that. They can push these sites, go for execute. You have enough utility to lock down these sites post-plant, but they're not even getting that far. They're spending so much time dilly-dallying around, and ICL are more than happy to just let them sit there.
Yeah, I mean, you need to let them sit there, especially with all the hesitation on the attack. You're wasting utility for no reason. Matt and Fate, though, finding 2 bodies on the board, you lose out on your top support and one of your top fraggers, and it's suddenly going to leave the defense in a kind of a a scary moment, because now you need to defend all the sides with one body each. That spike plant's going to go down. Definitely a huge redemption from last round. The smoke grenades are going to go down as well, and that's going to blind Shady from defending from Heaven. Now the op is trained on Heaven as well if one of the smokes go away, but it's going to still waste a lot of time for the defenders trying to not only get to the site, not only take down all the bodies they need to, but get that diffuser down as well. Fate just barely missing out on that shot on Shinka, and it's still just wasting time. You don't need to get these defender kills anymore. You have the spike down. Your job is essentially done besides that post-plant spike defense. And right now, UWE, like you said, Dor, is doing not a very good job. I'm sorry. UWE is doing a great job at their attack, but Imperial is not doing that great about the post-plant situation in this round. And they're having a hard time getting to that attack as well. And that's going to be another round on the board for UWE. And this is the first round in a while we have seen them get a win, especially in a post-plant situation.
I mean, let's look at that round versus the previous, right? They waited in mid. They used a bunch of their utility getting there. They play aggressive. They get spiked down. They could even use plenty of utility to do that, and they would be fine afterwards. But that post-plant situation, that looked easy for UWE, and that's because it is. That's because you have all that utility to lock down the site. I want to see them do that, though. They need to be able to see what is giving them success and be able to double down on it if they want to go any further in this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, success, like you said, is going to be the name of the game between these two teams. It's just a matter of just realizing what's going on. That utility being wasted, like you mentioned a few rounds ago, is going to be what's most important to hold on to, especially in those post-plan situations we've been seeing more and more. Now, what I like about what's happening on UWE side is that they're split pushing almost, but still trying to probe and find out what's going on. Now, looks like Garage might have a little bit of luck. RL is blinded out, but they might still go for the aggression on that boom buy. That's going to be taken down, but at least the audio cue letting them know that, hey, there's people inside Garage. People need to act on this. And we're not really seeing a lot of that call out being taken advantage of. We're not seeing anyone move their positioning in response to that boom buy. Now, again, this is a very, very slow round. There's 40 seconds left on the clock already. That spike is nowhere to be seen. In fact, it's not picked up by anybody. Someone needs to get that spike and bring it to a site in the next 30 seconds, or we're about to see not a match point position that UWE is hoping for, but instead 11 to 10. Again, that time is going down very quickly, and neither team is doing anything to really make a move happen. But this is all working out really well for the defense. That last second push, Matt does find RL, and that last second push could be do or die for the attackers. The spike has been planted, thankfully, with 10 seconds left, and there's a body down on the defense. Never mind, Fate takes down NDS as well. That's gonna be 2. You need to get that spike down right now. You didn't take any bodies down until the post plant. Voiceless does find Trigger, and that's gonna be 1, but you still need 4 more, and everyone's prepped up for the post plant. They're even prepped up for the flank as well. So at that point, what are you gonna do? You are in a very bad position right now for the defense, and that's gonna allow it to be match point, it seems, for UWE's favor.
Yeah, UWE are not feeling too bad about their odds this round. Come on, don't get knifed, Matt.
Oh, no.
You can have the round all you want, but that is not how you want that one to be ending. 11 to 10, though, you're getting yourself closer, but definitely not game point. Like you were saying, ICL get to come in, and they get to have a real bona fide shot at this. Their economy is going to be looking pretty all right. And again, UWE, if they continue to choke themselves out before they can even reach the end of the round, even reach that spike plant scenario, that's when we need to see them change it up. And again, they're failing miserably at realizing what they're doing correctly, even though they're doing things very correctly.
That's a very interesting way of putting it. You know, I cannot agree more. The post-plant situation on both sides has been really messy so far, and I mean, a knife kill? I wasn't expecting them to win that round, to be completely honest. But their post-plant is low and well positioned, but it's a mess on both sides when it happens. Shinka and RL right now taking a lot of damage right off the bat, and that's going to be Sage's heal being used already with a minute left. Fate, again, sticking to that op as usual, taking down NDS. The rivalry between these two has been building up a lot, and it seems that Fate has NDS's number no matter where they go. And Fate again with the double kill on the Voiceless Cruelty, not going to give it up whatsoever. It's going to be up to Matt right now, trying to find that shot on the RL, but RL is hiding in the right angle. And that's going to be Matt going down as well. One body down on UWE's side, but 3 going down on Imperials. 40 seconds left, and you need to defend that spike still. You have 2 people left alive, and that spike is nowhere near A site, and they're making that mad dash towards it. But when you only have 2 bodies left, it's a 2-to-1 scenario, and you better hope you can win these gunfights. The wall goes up, and that's going to stall them for a little bit, but also leave an optimal place to put down that spike. Tex finds RL, and so it's a 1v4 scenario, and suddenly that's not a great position to be in, and not to really any surprise, that is going to be UWE getting to match point right now in that post-plant situation.
Yeah, that was a gorgeous set of 3 picks that gave them the advantage there in mid, and that's exactly what they needed. If you're going to wait that long in the round, you better be using all that time before to find picks or force out rotations. They haven't done the latter all that much. However, find picks is something that they can do, and something that Fate especially can do. Fate has been fantastic on this operator. And it's like we talked about before the game, how important getting the operator in the hands of the Jet can actually be. The ability to reposition so rapidly can be so powerful. And now I expect to see another pick. I expect to see another entrance if they're going to take their time like this.
Yeah, Fate has been so great on the operator so far. Just about every opening pick has come from Fate so far when it comes to UWE's side. And honestly, that's a huge snowball effect that's been allowing them to take so many rounds so far. Again, they're on match point right now, but there's only 3 points left for Imperial's side to maybe bring it back and win out this game. But so far, they are just kind of not really up to the snuff they need to be. Now, with that being said, Shady Note's going to be pushed out of Garage, rotating around through C-Link, going to be hiding onto the site. And it's looking like it might be a garage push yet again. These have been semi-successful so far, but as I say that, RL gets a double kill onto the Breach and to the Brimstone. Tex and Matt, unfortunately, going to say goodbye for this round. There's only 1 revive on the board for that Sage, and that could go to 1 or the 2. But is it worth using on match point? That's yet to be seen. Now again, the Garage is not willing to be given up just yet. Fate takes down Cruelty, and that's RL with a triple kill onto Fate, but Frost wants to shut it down real quick. Frost does revive Fate, and that's gonna be with the double kill as well on top of it. And yes, though, finds Trigger as well, and that's gonna be a 2v2 positioning to be in Shinka up close like it was nothing. Finds Frost, and that's gonna be Fate, the one that was revived, needing to use this revive, the second chance at life, as much as they can, and they do. They get the ult kill with those knives onto Shinka, and suddenly it's a 1v1. And that is going to be a defending win. And oh, a little salt in the wound. Had it been seconds earlier, that could have been game right there. Fate getting that final kill onto the Reyna, a triple.
I mean, all ICL needed there was the win, though. It doesn't really matter that that Jet managed to come in at the end of the round and, clear up everybody. This game is way closer than it has any right to be. UWE have a composition that should be working way better. It works way better every other round, but they're so coin flippy with their tactics that they're not able to take advantage of it. ICL have been gifted round after round after round because they're going way too late, and we need to see that change if this goes to overtime. I'm honestly not sure UWE can actually clutch it out.
I mean, this could turn into a huge choke situation right now. UWE has had a kind of a faltering second half so far, and it's allowed Imperial to get to where they are right now. We could see a 12v12 easily right now, as long as every team does exactly what they need to do. But of course, that would mean Shady Notes needs to kind of not take that first kill on the mat like we saw. It really depends who's going to play a little bit lackluster right here. RL does get the clap back refrag onto Matt, and that's going to allow the Brimstone to go down again. We haven't really seen Hellfire from Brimstone really make a huge impact in this game so far. I believe we have seen it once on each half, but again, no real impact coming down. We do see the positioning right now going towards the bottom of sewers. That's going to be Shinka getting a few shots off, but unfortunately not going to connect whatsoever. But that's going to be a great point of knowledge to know that A site is going to be the way the spike's going to go. The revive comes down, and it looks like Fate is still holding on to that rotation, going around as much as possible. That's going to make the rotation really heavy. Shinka taking down Frost, and that's going to be a lot of utility off the board. But never mind, Imperial sweeping across all of A site right now, making sure that Fate has their work set in. But Fate is not afraid whatsoever. That's going to be Shinka off the board with that op. The vertical play going to be coming down on top of this. Shield, but not a shield wall. Not going to find it. Again, 2 verticals, uplifts. Not going to find anything whatsoever. 3 seconds go down, and that is going to be 12 to 12. Okay. What was that, Fate? Beautiful kill, and that's me voice clapping back. But again, Door, if you had asked me at the beginning of this game, was this the outcome we were gonna see? I'm sure there were a few people in chat that would say, oh yeah, they're so close in the score differential in the leaderboard that this was bound to happen. But
I mean, I looked at the compositions, and that's when I was like, okay, UWE, they should have this. They should have this in the bag, and time again. It goes late. They've timed out probably 6 times at this point, just on not having enough time at the end of the round to actually set everything up. So if they can't recognize that, I can't actually expect them to win. We predicted UWE before the match, but I don't know how you're supposed to predict a team that seemingly just rolls the dice every round and just hopes they land up.
ladies and gentlemen, this is the final round between the University of West England and Imperial College of London for the UK Valorant streams. I cannot stress enough how important this round is because there's only one victor here today, and it's going to be decided by this round. The setup for UWE right now has been a little lackluster. Like you said, Door, it's a roll of the dice. They just kind of probe in the beginning, figure out where maybe everybody is, and then just kind of full send it from there. Trigger getting that final kill on the Shinka, and there's no revives on the board for either Sage. That means that is the end of Shinka in this set. Fate does want to find those kills, but Trigger goes for the double kill onto Voiceless, and that's going to be Fate trying to find another kill, but spraying through smoke, spraying at nothing. That smoke goes down.
I know exactly.
Now Fate still trying to hold on to as much as possible. The walls and explosions are everywhere between the two teams. It is nothing but sight denial and just straight up gunfights. It is a slaughter fest against the Imperial College of London. Tex finding a kill and Trigger with a triple kill. RL finally finding a body on the board. That's going to be Trigger going down. But again, where's that defuse? We will not be seeing it here today because the University of West England, against all odds in that second half, clutch it out and bring it home.
Yeah, wow, what a game. That was way closer than it had any right to be. ICL, honestly, they showed up. They impressed me a lot. They were struggling with that fragment composition a lot of the time earlier on in the game, but once they had it figured out, once they had the rotations figured out, that's when things started to really change for them, to start to turn up. Unfortunately, it was a little bit too late. UWE, they got 2-3 rounds that they probably shouldn't have earlier on in the game before ICL were able to adapt. But after then, it was just going blow for blow for blow. And I was feeling really concerned for UWE because as much as they get away with the win, that is the definition, textbook of just scraping by barely.
I mean, that second half was pure Valorant gameplay. The first half was not very good for Imperial College, and they really did show up in that second half. They had the better team comp for what they wanted to do in their defending half. But again, it was just a huge back and forth between the two teams, and I really loved what we saw in the second half. I just wish we had seen that on both halves. But it seemed like that first half was really one-sided in UWE's favor. I believe at one point towards the beginning, we had a 5-1 score differential, and that might be the biggest we had seen between the two teams all game.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly like I mentioned. It all came down to those first couple of rounds. UWE got just enough of an advantage that it was able to carry them all the way through the end of the game, even when ICL felt like they were unstoppable, or UWE felt very stoppable. It was just enough to get them over the finish line. And you know what? As sad as we are to not have been able to see the same level of defensive prominence from ICL, we do get to see more Valorant today, don't we?
Oh, yeah, and that's the most important part. We get to see more Valorant, and you get to be with us Americans once more, continuing on into game number 2. I'm excited to see how this is going to go as well. We always get to see the production chat a little bit, and they are loving what we're about to show you guys.
Well, that's going to be it for right now, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back with our next best of one in just a moment.